The World Register is an independent news source. Our goal is to be a leading provider of truthful, unbiased, and timely reporting about people, places, and events. We currently use other news outlets to provide content and are not responsible for their version of events. Reuters news agency reports today that Russia, Iran, and the United States are drawing new red lines for each other in Syria, with Moscow warning Washington on Monday it would treat any U.S.-led coalition planes in its area of operations as potential targets after the U.S. Air Force downed a Syrian jet. Tensions escalated on Sunday as the U.S. Army brought down the jet near Raqqa, and Iran launched missiles at Islamic State targets in eastern Syria, the first time each state has carried out such actions in the multi-sided Syrian war. The United States said the Syrian army plane shot down on Sunday had dropped bombs near fighters of the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, a U.S.-backed alliance of Kurdish and Arab fighters battling to capture the city of Raqqa from IS, or the Islamic State. Russia's defense ministry responded on Monday by suspending cooperation with the United States aimed at avoiding air incidents over Syria, where the Russian Air Force is bombing in support of Assad's campaigns against the rebels and the Islamic State. The Syrian army said the jet was shot down while flying a mission against the Islamic State. WorldNet Daily reports today that the American Center for Law and Justice, an organization that works on behalf of persecuted Christians both in the United States and overseas, has scolded the United Nations Human Rights Council for ignoring the plight of Christians in Iraq and Syria. In a statement it released following its presentation to the United Nations, the organization warned that the Islamic State is carrying out genocide against Christians and other minorities. The center said, quote, "Through our affiliate, the European Center for Law and Justice, we made an oral intervention before the United Nations Human Rights Council on behalf of Christians facing genocide in the Middle East." Speaking to the UN Council, the ECLJ said, quote, "The actions of ISIS against Christians and other religious minorities in Iraq and Syria clearly embody the definition of genocide as enshrined in the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The ISIS campaign to destroy these religious minorities and decimate their homelands and cultures undoubtedly meets the definition of genocide, and as long as the UN does not recognize it as such, these vulnerable groups remain unprotected and in peril." Unquote. The ECLJ continued by saying, "We got the report of a Christian Syrian woman who saw Christians being killed and tortured and children being beheaded in front of their parents. She said 250 children were put in the dough mixer. They were kneaded. The oldest one of them was 4 years old. ISIS tortured a boy while demanding his father and 2 others renounce Christianity before executing all 4 by crucifixion. 8 Christian women were publicly raped and beheaded. There are mass graves of Christians." The ECLJ summarized by stating, "The UN Council has remained silent while the Islamic State has continued its barbaric work." The Chicago Tribune reports today that Chicago recorded its 300th homicide over Father's Day weekend. The somber milestone was reached around 2:30 a.m. Monday when a 33-year-old man was gunned down during a burst of violence that saw 4 people killed and 13 others wounded over just 5 hours Sunday evening through early Monday. Over the entire weekend, 11 people were killed and at least 50 others were shot and wounded across the city. The homicides include a couple in their 60s who were stabbed to death and a 3-year-old girl who died from an assault early Sunday on the west side. The toll was similar to last Father's Day weekend when 13 people were killed and 46 others were shot and wounded, according to data kept by the Tribune.